the reality is, when you get people together, we have to have action. We actually have to do something about it. And actually, it's not about us talking. If we think about it, this is our opportunity to generate trust. This is our opportunity to help get psychological safety. So we do need to shut up a bit more from what I'm hearing. So what is the purpose of a meeting, particularly when I have a virtual team? A big thing is it's time to... I think Ashley's just told me we don't have a decent agenda, and that's my fault, and I know it. And I hate delivering these workshops because I'm like, oh, we don't do this yet. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's my issue. So we're not perfect, by the way, in our business. We might have a laugh, and we're honest with each other, but we're not perfect. So we have to remember and go back to what is the purpose of the meeting. It is about the opportunity to strengthen relationships within the team. So do have a bit of fun. Leave a bit of time for a bit of banter. It is an opportunity to gain engagement and consensus. So what is your focus? What is the thing that you're beating a drum about, and you need to make sure that every time you talk to your team, you mention it somehow? Whether it's client service excellence, whether it's about over communicating to everybody else. What is that thing? Every time in that team meeting, it should be mentioned. It's also about re-establishing focus and priorities. You know, and that comes from that management by exception. Where are the gaps? What do we need to do as a team to move this forward? It's about using that time to make sure the right messages are going on. Because if you're anything like me, and I'll hold myself up as somebody that's a little bit poor at this, is I look in my diary and I think, add swear word of choice, let's put sugar in there. And go, oh, I've got the team meeting. And then I go, oh, I should have prepared this, that, and the other. And then 5 minutes before we get together, I'm madly scribbling down the finances. And I wing it because I'm a good facilitator. And to the outside world, they would think as if I had it completely under control. Ashley's worked me for long enough to know I'm winging it. And I have some standard agenda items that I play with. But the key thing here is we've got to use our contact time purposefully. So technology should take a lot of the heavy lifting away. What are your dashboards to help you report, to see at a glance where there are problems? You know, this may take time to build. You might have to do it very manually to start with. Your technology should be the updates on work progress. Because if you've got the dashboards and the reporting, you don't need people to give you a physical update because you can see at a glance where the issues are. What's the ongoing communication about the work to be done? That should be through that case management system that you've got, Neve. It should be through accountancy manager that you've got. Andrew, just stick to one thing and make it happen. Don't waste your time on Pixie. If you want to use Centre, come into the club. We'll give you 10% off for the next 12 months of Pixie. Not Pixie, Centre. And you'll even get Ashley to help you get it set up properly and used properly as you go forward. You know, we've used it quite well, virtual whiteboards for brainstorming and meetings, which is where, I've only done it once, but it worked really well, where you put up a question for the team and you get them to write on the board. And you can do it very anonymously as well, so that people don't feel it. It's a great way if you're a bit worried that people are not going to speak up. It's the equivalent of, you said, Ashley, of that podcast of somebody putting up big whitewashed walls and saying, write on them, please. What's wrong with this company? And that does work really, really well. That, you know, that you get people to give you feedback. Because if it's difficult and there isn't that psychological safety, you might not hear it. So you put a blank screen up there. And, you know, Zoom does that really well. A blank screen up there, and you get people just to type. And tell people to type in the same color so nobody knows who's putting it, and you get that honesty out. A few tips to run some better meetings. Start the meeting positively. You know, if you start, I remember an excruciating away day, which I learned a lot from, where the owner of the firm basically started the day by lambasting the team for the high levels of client churn. To say that the rest of the day did not go well is an understatement. It's the worst ever away day I've ever been. So I learned a lot from that, which is never ever start it by giving the team a bollocksing to start with, a telling off. It just doesn't work. Start the meeting positively. Now, sometimes we're in those situations where there isn't a lot positive to talk about. So actually, this is about starting it and going, right, we're going to have a tough meeting, but I know that I've got the best people around the table to help us through this meeting. I know, so start it by being honest, by saying that once we've had this conversation, it's going to become easier. So there's always some positivity you can bring in, even with the toughest subjects. There is always a silver lining. And actually, it is started by going, we have to have this conversation. It's going to be difficult, but it's going to be much easier once we've had it. You can start it by going, we're going to have to share some unpleasant untruths. I've got to put my hand up that I have to take the blame for this. And as a team leader, there's a really powerful thing saying, I have to put my hand up to say that, to take the blame for this. The next thing is, particularly if you've got the very introverted team that aren't going to say much, have an open agenda with something like a Google Doc or an open thing on your work management system where everybody can contribute to the agenda beforehand. That gives ownership and it helps. Put the high priority items first, because we know that, that stuff, we always take the longest over the stuff that goes first. Remember, it doesn't need to be a 30-minute meeting or a 60-minute meeting. It can be a 5-minute, it can be a 25-minute, it can be, and you don't always need to start it on the hour or the half hour. Now, particularly with things like when you're using big common technology for this sort of stuff, if you've got a whole lot of meetings starting on the hour or half hour, technology can wobble. So start your meeting 5 minutes before the hour or 5 minutes after the start of the hour. Something with lawyers, and I don't know whether it's the culture of your firm, is the meeting is meant to start on the hour, but everybody gets there 5 minutes past. But it's true, isn't it? I turn around to lawyers when they're slightly late to my workshop and go, no, you're not late. You're within 5 minutes. That means you're within lawyer time. I go, anything that's within 5 minutes of the meeting started is still early and you're not late. And, we have a bit of a giggle, but actually tell the team, you'll put a reminder on your diary. You were on time, Neve. I was very impressed. You tell the team, you put a reminder on your diary on the hour that the meeting is about to start. And then you say to the team that if you're not there by 5 past, I will consider you late. But we as a team will commit that we'll be there within 5 minutes. And you actually give people a bit of license to finish their client chats, to know that when the reminder goes off, they've got 5 minutes to clear their stuff up, get their head in the right place, because we start. And set those expectations with your team. You go, and I know within our team, we've got a bit of a culture that if we're on a client meeting, that can often run over, and then we don't let the next meeting know. And I know in my head, we need to have a conversation about that. And I'm just as bad at it, is we need to put that 5 minute buffer as part of our culture.